Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for.
Like I said, the Auburn fans took over the chat to start the show. And I do want to go ahead and talk about the Auburn Tigers right now because to I think a lot of people, not a sexy topic. Number one team in the country. They go on the road. They beat Georgia, okay? But to me, it is an insanely sexy topic. And I know that sounds weird to talk about. Yeah, it's sexy, baby. Auburn is sexy. That's right. Bruce Pearl, Johni Broome, it's all sexy, baby. But here's the thing. Auburn goes on the road. They get the win against Georgia. And what I want to do is take you really on a deep dive of what goes through Torres' head as I watch all this. Because I think what we are looking at, we're not only looking at the best team in the country right now. I think everybody acknowledges that. I even see it in the chat from Kentucky fans and other fan bases. Like, Auburn's the best team in the country. What I think we are now seeing, though, is that Auburn fans, if you're watching this, I don't want to put out the old Nick Saban rat poison. But this is a team that if you pay close attention, it is only January 19th as I record this show. And I'll be transparent. I think it's really hard to see the scenario. Auburn does not get a number one seed in the NCAA tournament. And again, I think the pathway is there to San Antonio already. It sounds crazy. We still got 7 weeks left in the regular season, but let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, obviously, look, a week ago Saturday, Auburn loses arguably the best player in college basketball in Johni Broome. He would still be my National Player of the Year. Cooper Flagg's catching up to him, whatever. Bottom line remains this, though. Is that you looked at Auburn, and I did say I thought the schedule broke nicely for them. 2 games that are winnable. You get a week off, then you play Tennessee. Then you get a couple games that are winnable on the back end. You only had 3 games, 4 games until February 1st. So really you got time for Johni Broome to get healthy. But it's easy for me to look at something on a piece of paper and say, well, everything's going to be fine, blah, 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 blah. It's quite another for Auburn to go out and do what they've done the past 2 games, which is take care of business against top 25 teams without an All-American and their best player. Obviously, you go back to the game on Tuesday against Mississippi State. I'll be honest, wanted to watch that game, but I was flipping channels, and by the time I turned it on, the game was already over. Absolutely dominate a good Mississippi State team. By the way, Mississippi State bounced back, beat Ole Miss on Saturday. Again, there's no easy nights in the SEC. And then Saturday, you go to Georgia. And listen, I think Georgia probably is one of those teams that's going to fade a little bit as SEC play goes on. But Georgia came to play. Georgia battled. Auburn opened up a big lead early. Georgia rallies. Auburn holds on to win by 2. Now, I think the score, I'll just say this, was a little bit deceptive as far as I'm concerned. A lot of weird clock visitations in the final minute. Like, the final minute was one of those moments where you hate college basketball, where all of the cliches about the refs going to the monitor, this, that, like, it did get pretty obnoxious and pretty annoying. But Auburn holds on to win 70-68. And here's the bottom line. They are now 2-0 without Johni Broome. They now have a week off. And I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Bruce Pearl is not going to rush Johni Broome back. But again, you look at the schedule. You get Tennessee at home. I'm not saying that Tennessee is going to be a pushover because they're awesome, but Tennessee also did just lose to Vandy the other day. They got blown out by Florida. Tennessee, as things currently stand, 0-2 in the 1-2, excuse me, in the SEC on the road. And then after that, you got an LSU team that isn't very good. And so again, all of a sudden, you can see the wins keep coming. By the way, should give a quick shout out. Saturday, the star was Tahad Pettiford, the freshman from Jersey, 24, 25 points, something like that. 5 of 7 from 3. He was phenomenal. I'll just say this really quick. I think he's actually the difference this year for Auburn because they've always had the dudes with Johni Broome and down low and even Chad Baker-Mazara a year ago. Now you got a guard that on any given night can get you 20 on top of what Broome can do when he's healthy, on top of Chad Baker-Mazara. That's what, to me, makes Auburn the best team in the country. But if this was just about a number one team in the country winning a game, I promise you, I wouldn't be talking about it today. Number one teams in the country win a lot. That's what they're supposed to do. But as you look at Auburn, something strikes me. I tweeted it out. I just said it, and I truly believe it. It is January 19th, and I find it very hard to see a scenario where Auburn doesn't have a number one seed come Selection Sunday. This is my tweet from Saturday after the game. Auburn survives Georgia and has now beaten 2 top 25 teams since losing Johni Broome. Tigers have 10 quad one wins. No one else in college basketball has more than 6. Even though it's mid-January, it's already hard to see them not getting a number one seed on Selection Sunday. Team is a wagon. So really quickly, that quad one stat to me is maybe the most important stat in college basketball right now. Okay, and I always like to do this. I always like to refresh the audience of what is quad one, quad two. I'm not going to get into all the metrics and all the analytics, but at the end of the day, quad one wins are the best wins that you can have. And what is important about them is the more wins you have, the better it looks for your resume into March. And so it's a lot of different factors that go into it. But as I said, right now, Auburn has 10 quad one wins. That is an insane number. Now, I tried to go back and look at some math for last year. You'd be amazed at how hard it is to find net rankings from previous years. But I promise you this, there weren't many teams last year that had more than 10 quad one wins. I think like a really good season is like 11 or 12, something like that. Maybe you get up to 13 in the right year, whatever. They have 10 quad one wins right now. And you look at the wins, they all just keep getting better as time goes on. I know that Iowa State lost the other day, or lost on Saturday to West Virginia. But Iowa State is a great win. Houston is a great win. Those are probably the two best teams in the Big 12. You beat them both. North Carolina on a neutral, we'll talk about North Carolina in a minute. Doesn't change the fact that North Carolina on a neutral is still a good win. Memphis on a neutral looks good. I know that Memphis just lost the other day and AAC played at Temple. Doesn't matter. That is going to be a good win. Purdue on a neutral is going to be a good win. I don't know that they're the best team in the Big Ten, but they're in the short conversation. And then at Texas, at Georgia, all these great wins to open SEC play. And so I bring it up because it sounds crazy, but this sounds crazy. They already have an NCAA tournament resume. Like, I had an Auburn fan tweet at me, and I thought it was a great question. I don't think we're quite at the point where Auburn could literally lose every game the rest of the year on their schedule and make the NCAA tournament. But I'll be honest, I actually think we're getting pretty close to that moment in time. It sounds crazy, but I think they're probably a win or two away of like, oh, they could go 0 in February and still make the NCAA tournament. But when you look at what they've done, the 10 quad one wins, the fact that they're going to get more along the way, the truth is it's just hard to see the scenario where they're not going to be a number one seed. Again, they've played 18 regular season games. They're 17-1 right now. So that's 15 regular season games left. I mean, I think you can lose 4 or 5 games and still get a number one seed. But here's the crazy part. And here's where I think you got to be excited if you're an Auburn fan. Shout out producer Matt, by the way. And this is also where you might have to, start asking your husband and wife and friends and family, hey, should we start booking some travel in the postseason? Now, again, I know if I get too far ahead of myself, Auburn fans are going to yell at me. It's all rat poison. Shut up, Torres. Stop talking about our team. But here's the truth, is you look at the resume. They're going to be a number one seed. And if you look at how some of the other number one seeds shake out, Iowa State's probably going to be the one seed in the Midwest. And I know it's early to do bracketology. I hate doing bracketology in January, but I think this is important. Iowa State's probably going to end up the number one seed in the Midwest. Whoever wins the Big 12 will probably have the inside track to that. Duke, we've talked about Duke. Duke's going to finish probably with 1 to 2 ACC losses. I think they're legitimately going 18-2 in the ACC because the ACC is that bad. So Duke's probably going to want to be in the East region. That's in like a Jersey, New York, Elite Eight, Sweet 16 region. Why it's important. If Auburn gets the number one seed in the South, do you know where the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight are played? Atlanta. Not sure how many of you are familiar with the geography of the southeast portion of the country and specifically distances from Auburn, Alabama, but Atlanta is about an hour and a half drive, a little bit less from the Auburn campus. And so it's not hyperbole to say that Auburn, it would take basically catastrophe for them not to get a number one seed. And we would think if they just take care of business, do what they do, that number one seed will be in the South region, which sets up Sweet 16, Elite Eight in Atlanta, a home away from home, to potentially go to the Final Four. So this team is awesome. This team is a wagon. Again, it's mid-January, and it feels like it's hard to see the scenario where they will not get a number one seed, and they will get very likely a number one seed with a very advantageous path that could put them in Atlanta to be playing for a Final Four. So Auburn fans, don't want to put the cart before the horse. I already saw somebody in the chat ask, has Auburn ever won a national championship in basketball? They have not, but they, of course, made the 2019 Final Four. And I'll tell you this, I know it's early, but if I was you, I'd start thinking about trips to San Antonio. I'd book things now because things are going to get crazy as we get closer. But Auburn, man, oh, man, oh, man, what a wagon. Now, they get a week off before they play Tennessee next Saturday. That should be a good one. I saw College Game Day is going to be there. Yeah, we might even have to try to get Bruce Pearl on this show. We haven't had Coach BP on in a minute, and we'll see. But Auburn is off for a week. They are number one, and they are running away from the sport.